we got a lot to get to today. Got to recap last night's Monday night football matchup between the 49ers and the Colts and see how that game impacted the playoff picture, which is rounding into shape. It's coming into focus as we now are down to 2 weeks left in the NFL season. Plus, I'll give you what I think about DK Metcalf saga and how will that affect the Steelers as we play out the rest of the season. And it is Top 5 Tuesday. I will give you my top 5 teams. And I always say that list is fluid, so there has been some changes to my top 5. And we'll wrap it all up looking at the college football playoff quarterfinals, which teams that I think could be in line for an upset in the quarterfinals. We'll get into all that today, right here in the Total Sports Ozone. Big O with the big mouth coming at you on a Tuesday, December 23rd, the eve of Christmas Eve, as we are 2 days away from the big day. And let's get right into it. Last night, Monday Night Football, 49ers, Colts. And quite frankly, if you like points, you like this game. The 49ers seemingly could not be stopped. The Colts had no answers. None. Absolutely no answers for the 49ers offense. They couldn't stop them even if they tried. I mean, it probably would have took an act of God or Congress to even slow down the 49ers offense. I mean, Brock Purdy, it was like he was playing pitch and catch out there. It was like target practice. 48-27. And the thing is, the Colts were in this game in the first half. The first half, it was only 24-17, and we're only down one score. Phillip Rivers looked good. He had a couple of touchdowns. He looked for a 44-year-old man who was on his couch a couple of weeks ago. He looked sensational for the first half. But the Colts defense, like I said, no answers. They had no answers for the 49ers. Brock Purdy, probably his best game as a 49er, at least in my opinion. It was his best game of his short NFL career. 25 of 34. 295 yards. 5 touchdowns. 5. And it was like he was playing pitch and catch. He threw to everybody, and everybody ate. George Kittle, 115 yards and a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, he had 29 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Let's not forget he had 117 yards on the ground. The Colts didn't know what to do with big CMC. They didn't know what to do with him. They tried to stack 8 in the mountain. Nope. They tried to cover the cover 2 Tampa 2 zone cover over, if you want to call it. Nope. That didn't work. They tried to put a linebacker on Christian McCaffrey as a spot. That didn't work. Nothing worked. Nothing worked for the Colts on defense. Nada. Nathan. It looked like target practice out there. 49ers ran whatever offense they wanted to run, how they wanted to run it, when they wanted to run it, and they just told the Colts, stop us. And the Colts was like, I don't know if we can. And they couldn't. All night long. 49ers scored at least 10 points in every quarter of that game last night. They just could not be stopped. I don't even know if they punted. I think they might have punted once, maybe. Maybe once. Nope. They didn't punt at all. The 49ers did not punt in this game. That's how bad it was for the Colts. They could not get the 49ers off the field all night. That's how, now you know, when you cannot even, you do not even get the other team to punt, you having a bad night on defense. And the Colts, in a game they needed, and Colts in the game they needed, and they were at home, and they needed it very badly to keep themselves alive in the AFC playoff picture, couldn't get it. So what does this game mean? What does this win mean for the 49ers? Well, with the Colts losing, that put 3 teams in the AFC playoffs. 3. It put the Chargers, the Bills, and the Jaguars. They have all locked up playoff spots with the Colts losing. So there are only 2 spots remaining in the AFC, and there are basically 2 spots remaining in each conference. In the AFC, the only thing we need to figure out now is basically who's going to win the divisions in the AFC East, North, South. Basically, the AFC West is pretty much a wrap with the Denver Broncos. It's pretty much a wrap. All they have to do is win one more game, and it's a wrap for the Broncos. The Patriots, they win one more game, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for them. The Jaguars and the Jaguars and Texans. The Jaguars are currently in the lead in AFC South, but the Texans only 1 game behind. But the Jaguars, Chargers, Bills all clinched playoff spots with the Colts losing, which means for the Colts to get in the playoffs, they got to win out and get some help. They got to win out, and they're going to need a lot of help. And we're talking about the AFC South. Basically, for them to win, for them to make the playoffs, they need to win out, and the Texans will have to lose out. The Houston Texans will have to lose their last 2 games, and the Colts will have to win their last 2 games for the Colts to grab the 7th seed in the AFC. For the 49ers, they had already clinched the playoff spot. So, but with this win, it puts them back in the running for the top seed in the NFC and the NFC West. They're only a game behind the Seahawks. They're tied with the Eagles. They're tied with the Bears, but the Bears, on tiebreakers, have the number 2 seed right now. But the 49ers, Rams are all 1 game behind the Seahawks. 49ers still play the Seahawks. So it is very conceivable that if the 49ers run the table and win their last 2 games, they could be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And the way they're playing right now, the way the 49ers looked last night, I'd be scared to play them. And we're talking about a team that's banged up on defense. No Bosa, no what's his name? Ward or Turner. They banged up. Doesn't matter. It don't matter. They're looking really good. And like I said, Brock Purdy, he has that kind of performance. If he's warming up like that, going into the playoffs, 49ers is going to be a very dangerous team. And if they get home field, I wouldn't want to play them. With the offense clicking like that was last night, I wouldn't want to play the 49ers. Especially if I got to go out to Santa Clara and Levi Stadium. Oh, I wouldn't want to do it. So that's where we're at right now as far as the playoff picture. We got 5 spots locked up in both conferences. 5 playoff spots locked up. So the last 2 weeks, All we worrying about now is we got two divisions. Basically, all the divisions are still in play. All of them. No one has clinched a division title yet. No one, except the Eagles. I'm mistaken. The Eagles are the only team that have clinched the division as of right now. They've clinched the NFC East. But all the other divisions in both conferences are still in play with 2 weeks remaining. So these are going to be some very interesting games these last 2 weeks of the season. Colts need help. Colts need a lot of help. They got to win out, and they need a lot of help. Right now, they're at a 3% probability to make the playoffs. And it's really unfortunate because halfway through the season, the Colts look like the favorite to not just win the AFC, win the whole thing. They were one of the favorites. Everybody was looking at the Colts like, wow, with Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor and the defense playing the way it was. They looked like the prohibitive favorite coming out of the AFC. But then Daniel Jones gets hurt. There was a couple of people on defense. And then the backup got hurt. Backup quarterback wasn't even available. And it went downhill fast. And it's unfortunate. But that's the nature of the beast in the NFL. Injuries happen. And it could turn. It has. I've seen it. We've all seen it. We've seen major injuries to key players on teams curtail seasons. A promising season gets derailed just like that. And that seems like what's happening with the Colts. When Daniel Jones went down and he was having like an MVP type season, it kind of curtailed him. I got to give it up to Phillip Rivers, though. He still can sling it. 44 years old, grandpa, high school football coach. When he come in, he still got an arm. If you give him time, he can sling it, and he gets rid of it fast. Last night he was only sacked twice, so he's learning to get rid of that ball. He don't want to get hit. He don't want to get hit that often. And by these guys, these big defensive linemen, as fast as they are, and as big and strong as they've gotten, he don't want to get hit by these guys. he got a family. He knows get rid of the ball, but he played a lot better than last week against Seattle, but the defense just couldn't stop 49ers. They just couldn't do it. So 48-27, 49ers over the Colts. Colts are now 8-7, and they're on the outside looking in. 49ers, they put themselves back into the mix for not just the NFC West, but the top seed in the NFC. And like I said, the way that deep offense is playing, I would not want to play them if I have to go out to Santa Clara. I know I wouldn't. Big O with the big mouth, Total Sports Ozone. Now, don't forget, like and subscribe, please. And please comment, leave a comment if you will. I'll read them all. I'll look at all. If you don't like what I'm saying, if you like what I'm saying, if you agree or don't disagree, let me know. Let me know what you think. I'm always open to hearing what you think. That's what I'm here for. I'm a fan hollering at the fans. So, as a fan, let's move on. Let's talk about this DK Metcalf. As we all know, DK Metcalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers was suspended for the remaining 2 games of the regular season without pay for his little altercation he had with a fan at this last Sunday's game against Detroit. Now, we've all seen the video. I'm sure you have. I know I have. I've seen it multiple times. My first thought about that whole thing is, what the hell was he doing interacting with a fan in the middle of the game? What was he doing? Shouldn't he be focused on the game? I mean, you're a major player on this team. You're not one of the. You're not sitting at the end of the bench on the Steelers. You're starter. You're starter wide receiver. You're probably supposed to be the way you're getting paid. You're supposed to be their best wide receiver. What in the hell are you doing way over there on the sidelines, mixing it up with a fan in the middle of the game? Now, I can see if it was before the game or even right after the game. But this was right in the middle of the game. I mean, you're trying to win this game. You need to win this game. And you worried about a fan who's probably had a little bit too much to drink and is running his mouth a little bit too much? Really? This is a incident. You've all seen it. This is an incident that should have been avoided. Because like I said, what the hell are you doing if you're DK Metcalf mixing it up on way over there in the stands with a fan? They're in the middle of the game. You're right. You're supposed to be focused on the game. You're trying to beat the Detroit Lions. You're on the road. And you know, everybody knows, when you're on the road, you're going to get the mile running from the fans. You're going to get that. Especially if you're the opposing team on the road and it's a rivalry. You're playing a rival. You're going to get that noise. You're going to get it. You got to be thick-skinned. I mean thick. Because they're gonna talk. You got rowdy fans coupled with alcohol. Yeah, there's a very small percentage of idiots that go to these games and act the fool, run their mouth too much. You gotta rise above that, especially during the game. Your focus should be 100% on the game. Not worry about what a damn fan in the stand running his mouth about. Yeah, that's why I believe the punishment fit the crime. I think it was a fair punishment. Sit 2 games without pay. Now, according to the sources from ESPN, he's appealing. DK Metcalf will appeal the suspension, and he has to. Because if this suspension is upheld, not only will he lose over $500,000 in salary, game checks, but he's going to be in the running to forfeit $45 million guarantee. $45 million. $45 million in guaranteed money. That's not money to be losing right before Christmas. I mean, I know he's on Santa's naughty list right now for what he did. Ooh. I mean, that's like Santa stuffing your stocking with coal because you were really, really naughty. So, for his sake, you better hope the powers that be in the NFL listen to his story. But that's the issue he runs into. If the suspension is upheld, he will lose over $500,000 in game checks because he had to sit the last 2 games, and he's in the running to possibly forfeit $45 million in guaranteed money. $45 million. Woo. That's a grip to be losing right before Christmas. I hope he already bought presents for his family. But still, now, I'm going to let y'all know I hate the Steelers. There's one team that I hate more than any team in sports. And we're talking all sports, all over the world. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hate them. Anything, if they lose a game, it's a good day for me. I feel good if they lose a game. If anything bad happens to them in the news, I feel good. I ain't gonna lie. I feel good. Sometimes I laugh. Because I hate the Steelers. But that's my subjective part. Now, being strictly objective, DK Metcalf got to be smarter than that. He's got to be smarter than that. Not only are you hurting yourself, you're hurting your team. 2 weeks remaining in the regular season. You're fighting to win, win the division and get in the playoffs, because that's your only path to the playoffs. Is you have to win the division. You have to win the division. So it's like right now, all hands on deck if you're the Steelers. You can't afford to lose anybody. Yeah, I know there's injuries and stuff, but you can't be losing. You can't lose anybody to something stupid. Like taking a swipe at a fan because he ran his mouth. No, you gotta be bigger than that. At this point, in this late in the season, with so much at stake, you gotta rise above that. Everybody has to rise above all that noise. Because you're gonna get that noise. Unfortunately, especially today's days with social media and what it is, you're gonna get noise. You just gonna have to rise above it and tune it out. And for as much money as you're making, the team, the organization, they're expecting you to rise above that. They're expecting that. You can't take swipes at fans, no matter what they say. I mean, the smart thing for DK to have done, besides walk away and get your focus back on the game, is to alert security. I mean, there's security all over these stadiums. You could have grabbed a security guard, a police officer, somebody, pointed that fan out in the stands and let them deal with it. That's what they get paid for, to deal with the small amount of knuckleheads that attend these games. That's what they did for. That's what he should have done. He should have walked away from it, or at the very least, alerted a policeman or security, pointed that fan out, and let them deal with it. They probably would have told him he had to go, or go find a different seat, something. But he wouldn't be suspended. Gotta use your head, especially this time when the teams are going to need you. They need you. I mean, this is not no scrub that's sitting at the end of the bench. He's a starting wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers needs you. And now you're gone for 2 games. The last 2 games of the regular season. By the way, Steelers play Cleveland in Cleveland next week, and then they end the season at home against the Ravens. Now, they're in a position where they win any one of their last 2 games, they win the division. They wrap up the AFC North, they get in the playoffs. If they win any one of their last 2 games. That's why this little situation should not happen. It should not have happened. At least I don't think so. You got to rise above that. You just got to rise above it and focus on the game. That's what they're paying for. Focus on the game. As far as that fan is concerned, and now you ain't going to sit there, I don't care what the fan say. You're not going to sit there and expect me to believe that DK Metcalf took a swipe at you for nothing. I don't think he took a swipe at you because you asked for an autograph. I don't think he took a swipe at you because he wanted to take a selfie. Now, you had to have said something something probably really egregious to that man for him to swipe at you. Had to. Knowing that he gonna lose money and you have to sit down some games, you had to have said something real big time to provoke a professional player to swing at you. And for that, I think that fan should be banned from going attending any more of the home games. Well, what was it? The Detroit Lions? He should be banned. He should be banned. Or at the very least, he should his ticket, if he's a season ticket holder, his season ticket should be revoked or it should be moved to a seat way up there in the cheap seats where he is nowhere near the players, nowhere near the sidelines. But I think he should be banned. I mean, come on, y'all. I know, we all know it costs a grip, a nice grip to attend sporting events. Not just the NFL, we talk all of them, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, any sporting event. It costs some money. It is not like it back in the olden days. It costs money to attend these games. So, yes, when we attend these games, we all have the right to cheer and we all have the right to boo and say support letter words to players we don't like or teams we don't like and even the refs. We do that. That's part of the game. That's what makes the game fun to me. The right, you go up there and your team play, and your team playing bad, you boo the hell out of them. And if the ref make a bad call, you boo the hell out of them. Boo, cat call them 4-letter words out, whatever. But there's a line that you should not cross. And I don't care if you had one too many or you were sober as a nun. I don't care. There's a line you do not cross as a fan, especially one of them out. One thing, you don't talk about a player's family, wife, kids, mother. You don't do that. That's off limits because you wouldn't want them to do it to you. And I don't care how much these players get paid. They're human beings too. They're human beings first. And you wouldn't want that done to you. You damn sure wouldn't want anyone talking bad about your family, your wife, your kid, your mom, your dad. You wouldn't want that. So how do you have to expect that if you do that to a professional player, they're supposed to rob a butter, but you have to go into that thinking if you say something like that, don't expect a good outcome. So you should just keep that junk to yourself. You shouldn't even put that stuff on social media. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of knuckleheads that do. They use social media to say all kinds of ugly stuff about players, about athletes, about famous people. Because they know, I always said the reason why they mainly do that is because social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that, is a place where you can say stuff like that for the most part and not worry about having to get punched in the mouth about it. But if you're going to say that to an athlete and he swings at you, what do you think? What would you expect? Would you want him to talk bad about your family? Would you want anybody? What would you do? If somebody come at you talking crap about your wife, about your kids, about your mom, dad, or whatever, what would you do? Would you just turn the other cheek? No, you're going to get upset. And you might get physical. So you got to watch that. There's a line you just don't cross. I don't care how much you spend on them tickets. I don't care if you spent all of your paycheck and most of it in the next one on a sporting event. Don't care. There's a line you don't cross. And you should have better common sense as a fan. Because you're supposed to be there to enjoy the game. Yes, cheer on your team, boo the other team. Boo the refs if they make bad calls, and they do. That's what you're there to do. You're not there to interact with a player from another team and get them riled up so he can punch you. No, you're not there for that. Or if you are, you got your priorities mixed up. You might as well watch the games at home. So, in my eyes, that fan should be banned. He had to have said something. I don't know what it was, but he had to have said something to provoke that player, DK Metcalf, from taking a swing at him. Had to. Had to. Oh, that's just how I see it. That we'll see how this affects the Steelers going forward. Like I said, the last two games next week they play in Cleveland, and they finish at home against the Ravens. We'll see how this affects them, especially on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I just don't know. But it's not a good look for DK Metcalf. And it can hurt him really where it hurts. His back pocket, his wallet, his bank account. That's never good. Especially right before Christmas. Big O with the big mouth. Total Sports Ozone. Now, let me get set up here because it is Top 5 Tuesday. It is time for me to release my top 5 teams for the week of ending week 16 in the National Football League. So, and yes, there's been some changes. There has definitely been some changes because one of the teams in my top 5 last week two teams took losses. But it wasn't that bad. But there's one team that I had to put add to my top 5. I dropped one out. I dropped one team out of my top 5 and put another one in because, like I said on yesterday's show, this team has gone about their business so quiet. Nobody talks about them. Not too many people talk about them at all. I'm talking about my top. This is my top 5. I got number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are probably the quietest 11-4 team I've ever seen. Nobody talks about it. At least not on a national sense. Nobody. And they don't garner a lot of press. And I don't know why. Look at the record. 11-4. First place, AFC South. But they've gone about it so quietly. It's like if you didn't pay attention, you wouldn't know. You would not know. But they quietly have been one of the better teams in the AFC. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and even Travis Hunter being out, they was able to overcome that. They got a hellacious defense, very opportunistic. I mean, hey, they went into Denver. Denver had won 11 in a row, something like that. They went in there and stopped them, and they made it look a little easy. Denver's defense, which is one of the better defenses, especially their front seven, one of the better defenses in the National Football League, they made it look easy in Denver. I'm telling you guys, y'all can't sleep on the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can't. In my eyes, the AFC is wide open. The AFC is wide open. Chiefs are down. They're not in it. The Bills are vulnerable. You know, the Bills are vulnerable. The Ravens may not even make it. Then Joe Burrow and the Bengals, they're out. So the AFC is wide open. There's not one team in the AFC that's in either have made the playoffs or primed to make the playoffs that don't have any flaws. There's not one. So any team can be beaten. Any team in the AFC side can be beaten. They can be beaten. And Jacksonville beat one of those teams on the road. They did that. I didn't think they could go into Denver. You know, we're talking about a warm weather team going up in the high altitude in Denver. But they came out with a win. Quietest 11-4 playoff team I've ever seen. Not a lot of press about them. There's not a lot of big time media talk about them at all. But they're just going about their business. And I have to say, Trevor Lawrence has turned into, I'm not going to say he's a superstar quarterback, but he's a manager. He's a game manager. I call him a game manager, a nice game manager. He doesn't turn the ball over that much. He takes what the defense gives him. He takes his shot downfield when the situation merits that. And he's been connected with his receivers. He's also been running the ball. Like I said, he's taking what the defense is giving him. He doesn't turn the ball over much. You know, he's not flashy, but he gets the job done. And that's what the Jaguars have been doing. They have been getting quietly the job done. So I had to put the Jaguars in my top 5 this week. Very impressive win on the road in Denver. You're going to be in my top 5. I kept the Broncos in my top 5 at number 4, even though they lost. But they won 11 in a row. You can't discount 11 games in a row. And Denver has been a team like, you think you got them down. You think you got them down. Okay. But you better knock them out because they'll find a way to come back, especially at home. Now, let me ask y'all, does anybody really want to play Denver in Denver during the playoffs? If Denver happens to get home field advantage, which they're in line of doing, 12-3. They went out, they could get home field advantage. And does anybody want to go to Denver in the winter, in January? I don't know. I have no idea. Denver's defense is what's going to say today. Their offense is still, to me, a work in progress. I believe, I would say, it ebbs and flows. The Broncos offense, it ebbs and flows. If they had one more top flight receiver, one that could take the top off the defense and go deep, one significant deep threat, I would have Denver as my prohibitive favorite in the AFC if they could do that. But they don't have that. They don't have that. Nevertheless, when you win 11 in a row, yeah, you have one hiccup. I'm not going to knock you out of my top 5. When you won 11 in a row, I'm not going to do that. Not this week. But I did bump them down one spot from 3 to 4. So my number 3 team this week was the New England Patriots. Went on the road, took care of business against Baltimore. Now they're one game away. I think they're one game away from wrapping up the AFC East. One game. I believe they're one game away from wrapping up the AFC East. Who knew? Plus, it was a good rebound. Good rebound from the blown lead and losing at home to Buffalo the week prior. To go on the road and beat a team that's desperate. That was desperate for a win. We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens. They were desperate. But New England, come back. Because New England was down, I believe, 11 points in the fourth quarter against the Ravens. And they came and they didn't blink. You have to put Drake May in the running for MVP. You have to do that. If you're the NFL media and the critics and the pundits, Drake May's performance merits that. He deserves to be at least in the conversation for league MVP. And Mike Vrabel, he's hands down coach of the year. Hands down. Mike Vrabel is hands down. I don't even think it's close. I really don't. I don't even think it's close. Mike Vrabel is coach of the year. Especially if the New England Patriots somehow get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. You would have to write Mike Vrabel down as this year's coach of the year. He's done a marvelous job. Marvelous. Remember, Patriots the last 2-3 years were horrible. They were horrible. This year is like a 180. They've done that 180. And it's a remarkable turnaround. I didn't think it would happen this year. I thought it would take at least 2, maybe 3 more years for the Patriots to come back to being the Patriots that we've known all over since the 2000, mid 2000, early 2000s. I thought it would take another 2-3 years. Done it in one. Got to put Mike Vrabel as coach of the year, and Drake May got to be in the conversation for league MVP. Got New England number 3 in my Power 5. Number 2, I bumped the Rams down one. Tough loss. Tough loss they took to Seattle. You know, you could say it was controversial with the 2-point conversion. It was a back lateral, this and that. But it was a game. Nevertheless, it was a game the Rams should not have lost. They should not have lost that game. And they were up 30-4. I thought the game was over. 30-14. The way the Rams was humming, I thought it was over. I thought the game was over. That's why I did not. I turned it, and then when I turned it back, here it is. Here it is. Seattle's going for the tie. And I'm thinking, what the hell happened? Rams took their foot off the gas. Let's put it like that. They took their foot off the gas. We can argue everything about the refs and that controversial 2-point conversion that tied the game. We can argue whatever we want. They took the foot off the gas. That's what I think they did especially in the fourth quarter. They took their foot off the gas. Maybe they'll learn their lesson from that. But they're still to me one of the toughest teams in the NFC. But they did lose to my number 1 team this week in my top 5, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. Amazing comeback win. Amazing. Just simply amazing. They were down 30-14 in the fourth quarter. For most teams, that's game. Game's over. That game is over. But Seahawks found a way. Sam Darnold, he had a subpar game up until roughly 2/3 of the way, left 2/3 of the fourth quarter remaining. He had a subpar game, and then he turned into Superman. He couldn't be stopped. He couldn't be handled. 92 yards in the fourth quarter, passing, 2 touchdowns. Then he get into overtime, and the gutsy call to go for 2. When they don't get that, if they don't get that 2-point conversion, they lose. They went for it and they got it. Number 1 team in the country, number 1 team on my top 5. Because that took guts. That took guts. That took cojones, whatever you want to call it. That's what it took. And that's why Seattle, to me, if Seattle gets home field advantage, they're not going to be an easy out. You got to remember that. Going up the Pacific Northwest, going to be tough. Because the Seahawks are a tough team to beat in that, what they call it, the Hawks' Nest, Lumen Field. They're tough with the 12th man. This game, they should have lost this game. And everybody knew it. They should have lost that game. Well, somehow, some way, they pulled that game out. And now they're in the driver's seat for home field advantage and the NFC West title. All they have to do is win out. They got a couple of toughies coming up. So they definitely gotta see the 49ers again. And like I said earlier, where the 49ers offense was humming last night, Seattle going to mind their P's and Q's and dot their I's and cross their T's because it won't be easy. But for this week, for the week ending week 16, I got the Seattle Seahawks on top. So that's my top 5 for the week ending 16. Number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 4, Denver Broncos. Number 3, the New England Patriots. Number 2, the Los Angeles Rams. And number 1, the Seattle Seahawks. This could change next week. We all know. This could change. It changes from week to week. It's been steady for the top 3. I might have had to flip 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 and 3 to whatever. But the top 3 have been the same for the last 2 weeks. Could this all change next week? We'll find out. We'll find out next week. Big O with the big mouth. Total Sports Ozone. Now, let's flip it up to college football. Well, let's look at these college football playoff quarterfinal matchups. We got Oregon playing Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. We got Alabama playing the number 1 seed, Indiana, in the Rose Bowl. We got Ole Miss and Georgia, part 2. This will be the rematch. And this will take place in the Sugar Bowl down in New Orleans. And we got the Miami Hurricanes coming to Arlington, Texas to take on Ohio State, the number 2 seed, in the Cotton Bowl. Now, which teams do I think are primed for an upset? One of them is Indiana. Now, I know y'all probably thinking, man, Indiana gonna kick Alabama's ass. Ruh, ruh, ruh. Right. Now, I said they're primed for an upset. It may not happen. But Alabama proved last week that they did belong in the college football playoff. I think they put that nasty ass loss to Georgia in the SEC championship game behind them. And now that they've won a playoff game, the pressure's off. See what I mean? The pressure is off. The pressure is definitely off the coach, Kalen DeBoer. All that talk about him leaving, might be getting fired, might be going to that. All that talk can die down now. He's going to be there next year. No, so Alabama has nothing left to lose. They're not even supposed to be here. Remember, they were supposed to get whooped by Oklahoma. Remember, so they could play loosey goosey. And if Kyle Simpson has a game the way he played against Oklahoma, plus that defense, after the first quarter, the defense basically put the clamps on Oklahoma. And they did it in Norman. This game is a neutral site game. You can't underestimate the momentum a good defense gives your team. You can't underestimate that. Especially when you can stop a high-powered team, a team that can put up points up in bunches. If you can put the brakes on that, you can upset them. Now you're talking about Indiana, all the accolades are warranted. Big Ten championship, number 1 seed, Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, Kirk Cignetti, Coach of the Year. All those accolades that have been heaped upon Indiana have been warranted. They earned it. But you're talking about playing a blue blood at Alabama, a college football blue blood, probably one of the bluest of the blue bloods in college football, and you're playing it on the national stage. Now, I don't know if Indiana's never been to this position. Indiana's never been here. Remember that. They've never been in the position where the lights are so damn bright you can't even see. how will that affect their play? This is their first college. This is not their first. They went to the college football playoff last year, and they got punched in the mouth by Notre Dame. Now you're playing the Blues of Blue Bloods, who has nothing to lose. Nothing to lose, y'all. So Indiana has to keep their antennas up. Now, on paper, Alabama probably has a lot more 5-star, 4-star athletes, everything, but Indiana, Kirk Cinetti makes it all work. And he's the X factor in this game. The coach, Indiana, Kirk Cinetti. He gets this team, he makes Indiana believe that nobody can beat them. And so far, nobody has. And when he gets a team down, he steps on their throat and twists. He don't let up. If you haven't noticed, the 50 points and 60-point games they put on teams this year. Now, I seriously doubt they're going to drop 50, 60 on Alabama. But if I'm Indiana, I'll keep my antennas up. Because you're taking an Alabama team that a lot of people thought shouldn't be here and has nothing to lose. So, Indiana is one of my teams that they better keep their antennas up or they might get upset. Another team that I think could get upset is Georgia. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It is hard, damn near impossible, to beat the same team twice in the same season in college football. It is damn near hard to do that. And this is the rematch. And Ole Miss only lost the first game in Athens by 8 points. And then it was a game that they were winning. Ole Miss was winning this game. Until Georgia finally got the head out there, you know what, started throwing the ball, started protecting the quarterback, and the quarterback started making good reads, and they just took over the game. So, Georgia being the 3 seed, SEC champion, you're playing a team that I'm pretty sure is chomping at the bit to get some get back. Because that was Ole Miss's only loss of this season. Was their loss to Georgia. If they hadn't lost that game, they could very well be the SEC champions. Because they would have been playing the SEC championship game. So their only loss, their only blemish on this season was that loss in Athens. So you can best believe Ole Miss, forget the Lane Kiffin. They proved they got past that. Those kids went out there and balled their butt off against Tulane. So they ain't got past that. But now they probably thinking this is our chance to get some get back. And Georgia has got that. Another team have their antennas up. It's hard, and especially in college football, it is hard as all you know what to beat the same team twice, especially in a team from the same conference. It is almost impossible. Think about last year. Ask Oregon. Ask Oregon last year. Oregon had beat Ohio State in the regular season. Beat them. Beat them by a point. In Eugene. Oregon from then on, number 1 team, 1 Big Ten champion, 1 number 1 seed. Then they met Ohio State again in the Rose Bowl. What happened? I'm just saying. It is hard, almost impossible, to beat the same team twice in the same season. It's almost impossible. And with the stakes on the line, moving on with a chance to move on to the college football semifinals, you best believe Ole Miss is chomping at the bit. I mean, they probably foaming at the mouth like rabies, like rabid dogs, trying to get to this game so they can get some get back against Georgia and avenge their only loss of the season. Georgia needs to keep their blinders up, their eyes open, and their antennas up, or they're right for an upset. Those are the two teams in the college football playoff quarterfinal games that I believe could be primed for an upset. I wouldn't be surprised if they get upset. Now, I know y'all thinking, what about Ohio State? I'll say it about Ohio State. If they play their game, they beat Miami. They'll beat Miami. If they play their game, they play their game on both sides of the ball, they'll beat Miami easily. I'm holding true to that. Why? Because I'm not worried about Carson Beck. Not worried about him. Ain't played the defense like Ohio State. That's why I haven't put Ohio State on upset alert. Because I believe with Matt Patricia having 2 weeks to prepare for Carson Beck and the Miami Hurricanes offense, I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it. But Georgia, Indiana, those are the teams you might want to keep an eye on, might get picked off in the college football playoff. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Well, Big O with the big mouth about to get bounce on out of here. Tomorrow, we're going to look more in depth about the NFL playoff picture. We're going to see who needs to do what to do what. In other words, how teams, we're going to look at the teams in the playoffs, the remaining schedules. And we're going to determine who needs to do what to win the division, to get home field advantage, and who just needs to do what just to be able to get in to the playoffs. We're going to look at all that. Plus, we're going to dive into the NBA tomorrow. We're going to dive into the NBA as tomorrow's Christmas Eve. So it might be an abbreviated show. But we're going to dive into that tomorrow on Christmas Eve. Big O with the big mouth. Total Sports Ozone. And I'm out of here. Peace.